mean, tourism has really taken such a battering from this absolutely unexpected existential crisis. And even as our report that we're launching today puts in context in terms of, the global situation, because tourism and travel globally have really taken the worst of what this pandemic has thrown at us. I mean, 75% of global visitations are down this year. And in Ireland,
the scale of the job losses alone, I know I mentioned it at the outset, but 160,000 job losses, when this part of the economy gets hit, it's the extent of the job losses and that multiplier effect is significant.
Absolutely significant. And bear in mind that so many of those jobs are in the region, so they're high value jobs in terms of the fact that it's the spread that tourism gives. And, we've gone from being the biggest Indigenous employer to being hit the hardest. But, I think tourism has proven itself time and time again. We do bounce back, and when we do, we have an amazing capacity. This is, I suppose, the second edition of ITIC's initial work, which was the revival plan that we launched last June, which was very much done to influence the Tourism Recovery Task Force that had been set up by the former minister. And of course, the role of that particular group was to put together the measures and the policies and the recommendations to actually give us a roadmap for the next 3 years to rebuild Irish tourism. So our first edition of the revival plan was very much, of course, built in a time where we continue to have the unknown in terms of when recovery might come. So our latest edition of that, in terms of the survival and revival plan that we've launched today, is really putting in context where we are now. And where we are now is not where we thought we would be even 6 months ago, even possibly 2 months ago. The scenarios, I suppose, start in terms of being kind of the baseline. Where are we now? And bear in mind that it is such a fluid situation and that we remain in such flux that we've developed these scenarios on the basis of very shifting sands. And as you say, the most optimistic that we need to look towards is when we can get back to those 2019 levels of business, when we get back to creating those number of jobs again. And we do envisage that that is possible by 2025 to 2026, but it is going to be contingent on the government continuing to commit to tourism and continuing to invest. Well, the worst case scenario, I suppose, ultimately feels like that we won't see recovery until it'll take a much longer period of time. And obviously, we need the aviation sector to recover, and we need them to recover as quickly as they possibly can. But worst case is we could be looking at tourism not recovering until as far away as 2029. So that is a scary prospect, and it's not a scenario that we would be focusing on. We believe that we've got to focus. We know there's going to be a future. We know that when that future comes, when recovery comes, it's likely to be a V-shaped recovery, because we all know from the research that's out there, there's a V-shape coming in terms of demand. People need to move again. People are fed up being at home, being locked up, and there's an enormous appetite to travel.